What's up, guys? This is my Alien Covenant review. So after Prometheus came out, it left a lot of unanswered questions. When people went to see Prometheus, they thought they didn't know whether they were seeing an alien movie or something else entirely. And it ended up being mostly a different kind of story that was taking place in the alien universe. Now, I thought that the idea was great, to find out who this space jockey was that crash-landed on LV-426. So I really liked the fact that they went ahead and pursued this idea of what are the engineers, what are the space jockeys. Now, I understand that Prometheus has its flaws, but I really enjoyed the movie. You know, it could have been better, but it is what it is, and there were no xenomorphs in it or anything like that. Except for the end, there was that protomorph that burst out of the engineer, which we'll probably never see again. So after all these years, we wanted to know what happened to Shaw and David, who took off into space to meet their creators, and who created the engineers. Well, in Alien Covenant, we get those answers. This movie is not only a direct sequel to Prometheus, but it is also the beginnings of Alien. And Ridley Scott and John Logan, who's the scriptwriter, was able to mesh these two together and produce a story that was very fulfilling. Although there were some questions that were left unanswered, that was obviously done on purpose until the next film. So like in all my reviews, I'm not going to give away too much of the plot, because I find that a lot of reviews out there, people unintentionally spoil the movie, even if it's in non-spoiler reviews. They'll start talking about what the movie's about and this and that, instead of giving you why the movie was good without spoiling the plot. So that's what I'm going to do here for you. All I'll say is what you've already seen in the trailers. A colonization mission is on its way to find paradise in order to start a new human colony. And along the way, they stumble upon the engineer's homeworld, and then all hell breaks loose. I really liked the crew this time around. In Prometheus, I felt like there wasn't a lot of chemistry with the crew, a lot of bad acting going on. I feel like Naomi Rapace and Michael Fassbender basically were the best actors in this film. Don't get me wrong, Idris Elba was good, but I felt like the acting overall was not very good for the rest of the actors. Obviously, the favorite is David, or Michael Fassbender. And in this new movie, Alien Covenant, David is obviously back, and he's up to his old tricks. In Alien Covenant, the crew has an amazing chemistry together. The acting, far better than Prometheus. Just a lot of believable characters. If you haven't seen Alien Covenant, go check out the prologues on YouTube. One called The Last Supper and the other called The Crossing. And both will give you a little bit of insight into the movie. So the acting in this movie is really well done. You really feel for these characters, including particularly Daniels and Tennessee, who are prominent throughout this film. Michael Fassbender, who plays David, obviously steals the show again. As far as story goes, I really enjoyed the story. I really enjoyed the character development with David and Daniels, as well as the captain of the ship and the journey that he goes through. Now, one thing that I'm sure the screenwriters were trying to do is to produce a new Ripley. And that would pretty much be Daniels. And she is like Ripley. She's a sort of a, Ripley Begins type character. And Daniels, of course, is a very strong female lead in the movie. Visually, the movie is stunning. In most of Ridley Scott's films, he has great cinematography, amazing, beautiful vistas and visions that you can see of the planet and in space and above the planet. Where the Covenant is going over the planet, and you see, a hurricane or lightning thunderstorms going on underneath, and it was just absolutely beautiful. Sound effects were amazing. The music was incredible. Now, if you're an Alien fan, you have to check this out. If you enjoyed Prometheus, you need to check this out. If you did not enjoy Prometheus, you still need to watch this movie, because even though it's a sequel to Prometheus, you don't need to see Prometheus in order to enjoy this movie. This movie fills in the gaps pretty much the best it can, while starting over again in a sense, giving the viewer a new perspective into where this story is going. I really enjoyed it as an Alien fan. I thought it was one of the best in the series. It's certainly now my third best in the series. Aliens is probably number one for me. Alien, and now Alien Covenant. Those are my three best. They override all the others. I still like Alien 3, don't get me wrong. And maybe one day I'll make a video about an alternate story that Alien 3 was supposed to be. Overall, I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a must-see for Alien fans. I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10. So now it's time for spoilers. So, spoiler alert.
10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Alright guys, so let's get into spoilers. So they land on the engineer's homeworld. Obviously they discover this rogue message from the Juggernaut, produced by Elizabeth Shaw, of a song. They redirect their path to this other world, which ultimately David and Shaw had landed. Everybody lands on this planet. They find out that basically there's no animals on this planet. There is a mutagen that has mutated the plants. The aliens now go into your ear and up your nose, and they burst out of you that way. The back burster and the neck burster. So what was really going on? We saw David, who had been marooned on this planet for 10 years. He, like he said, was Robinson Crusoe on his island. Came to the planet, had over time gone mental, if he wasn't already that way. Just became a psychopath on this planet doing all his experiments. So we also learned that David killed the engineers on the planet as soon as he arrived on the planet, and David had released these virus bombs onto the engineer city, killing all of them and mutating the animal life, eventually wiping out all the animals on the planet. So we get to see lots of twists and turns in this movie. The most interesting character obviously is David, and he's, like I said, he's gone completely mental, doing these experiments on this planet, which he's obviously taken apart engineers. And it also looks like he has killed Elizabeth Shaw and used her for his experiments. Now David has obviously turned against humanity, turned against the engineers, and sees himself as superior. He ultimately creates the xenomorph through all his experimentation. So we get to see David, twisted as ever, as he manipulates the crew of the Covenant that he takes in as refuge, and ultimately uses them to his advantage, including using the captain for his first host for the xenomorph. So there's not only one xenomorph in this film, there's actually two of them. To see one xenomorph on the planet and one on the ship. Now, I really enjoyed this movie, and I was basically hooked from beginning to end. But I felt, the only thing I felt that was weak in this movie was when the alien was on the ship. Walter, or David, was giving them the whereabouts of this alien all the time. And I thought, you know, this completely defeats the purpose of the suspense of this movie. And I would have preferred that they just didn't tell you, like they lost the signal, like in the first Alien. They didn't know where it was, and the alien could be anywhere. And so I really felt like they lost an opportunity there to make the movie suspenseful by telling you where the alien was all the time. So for me, even though the alien looked cool and everything it did on the ship was cool, the suspense factor and that whole sequence on the ship with the alien just fell flat for me. That was about my only gripe of the film. I did suspect that there would be an end battle with David at the end of the movie, that the xenomorph wasn't the end of it, and that we would see David in there somewhere. Of course, David obviously made the switch with Walter on the way back to the ship, and I had suspected that was the case, and I was wondering about that until the end of the movie, when Daniels asked David about building that log cabin, and David had no idea what she was talking about, and then he's like, "Don't let the big bugs bite." I thought that was awesome to have David make that switch. You know, I actually had preferred that there would be a fight sequence between a human and David on the ship, but we kind of already got that with Walter and David, two androids fighting. With that being said, I enjoyed this film. It's my third favorite Alien film in the franchise. I can't wait to see the next one and where they go. I think that planet they went to in this movie was not the engineer's homeworld. I think it was just a settlement. And that this new one they're going to is actually the engineer's real homeworld. And David is going to be flying this ship into the engineer's army. And basically the army is like, if they find out what happened on that other planet, what the fuck did you do? And it's going to be the engineers versus David. So guys, that's my review. I'm giving this movie an 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story, the characters in this movie. I thought there was a lot of great twists in it. David stole the show as always. But what did you think? What did you think of Alien Covenant? Post in the comments below, tweet me, Facebook me, or email me, and I'll put all those contacts in the description box. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and make sure you check out some more of my videos. Keep it locked on the Andrew K channel.
And then I was alone again. I learned of their ways and awaited our arrival.